G'day folks, Links here, and welcome back to Nomifactory. So, been a little while since I've uploaded a Nomi video. Actually, this is the first one this year. So, for those of you wondering about various other endeavors, GTNH, I have actually updated the world. I was on 2.8.0, or a nightly build that came just after 2.8.0 was released. I've now updated to 2.9 nightly, as I run my world on nightlies these days. So it'll be interesting to see some of the exciting changes that have been merged into 2.9 so far. So I am planning to revisit NH soon, but like I said last year, there's some magic stuff I want to get out the way, and like blood magic, witchery, etc., because I don't know a huge amount about it. It's not something I really feel particularly comfortable recording. But obviously I'll, go through it all once I've actually kind of figured it out. I think witchery is pretty simple. I think it's blood magic that I kind of need to spend some time actually playing with and figuring out. And as for Factorio, I am still continuing the K2SE run. I actually have made some decent progress, but it's just been a bit hectic this last week and a bit, so I kind of lost the momentum in Factorio, but where I am with that is I do now have production science set up, and I'm just in the middle of basically designing the various train blocks for the factory in my K2SE run. So once I come to actually rebuild the Now V space, I'll look at I'll be looking to do another Factorio video, but I think that's going to be, at least for the foreseeable future, that's going to be kind of the vibe of the channel. Is I am just going to be kind of jumping around. Between different things, because when I get busy or when things get hectic or whatever, I tend to lose my momentum in whatever game I'm on. In this case it was Factorio, and kind of jump to another one for a bit of a breather, which for the last few days has been Nomifactory. So this will probably be a bit of a shorter one, because I just want to kind of give a general kind of base update, given that a fair bit has changed. And because some of this actually changed last year, I've actually been maintaining notes of what... Oh, I've done that. I've been maintaining notes. So... we've made some progression, so the mid-game tab is now looking a bit more filled out, and I'm actually very close to getting the tier 2 microminer, I believe. I've got all this, I've got all this patterned in AE, except for the advanced combustion generator and the stainless steel crate. The unfortunate downside is that at the moment we're not far enough in progression to, at least I don't think we are, to be able to automate the extended crafting table. I can't remember what it's actually called now. Yeah, this thing, Advanced Package Crafter. I am not sure if we can automate this yet. Elite Catalyst... We might be able to, actually. We might be pretty close. Black iron frame box, that doesn't matter. Crystalline... Ah, yeah, it needs elite crafting to get the crystal matrix ingots. And what am I missing for... Oh, I think I might be able to... There is... Oh, it needs osmium, which I can now do. So I can't remember exactly where, but the automation interface. So at the moment I can't automate these advanced crafting recipes like the tier 2 miner, which is done in the advanced crafting table, or extended crafting table, sorry. I can't automate this right now, so if I want a T2 miner, I actually just have to kind of craft it manually. And generally the way you do that at this stage of Nomifactory is you create a pattern that just puts all these ingredients in a chest, and then you just grab the ingredients out of the chest and craft the miner manually. The way that is sorted is you use the advanced package, or the package crafter. There's one for each tier, and I believe it's one of these components. I can't remember exactly which one, but one of these components needs a or used to, anyway, need a osmium. Used to need osmium. That might not be the case anymore. I'm not entirely sure. And osmium is gated to mid IV because it needs the IV energy hatch, because it's an LUV blast furnace recipe. I think you can do it with HSSG coils. Yeah, you can do it with RTM alloy actually, but it needs IV energy hatches. So yeah. So we can actually make that now because we do have the IV energy hatch. I'm running a few of the blast furnaces at IV now. This is my auto crafting blast furnace, but osmium is something we will actually passive because it is used quite a bit. It's the only I think it's the only platinum metal I don't have passived at the moment. So I now have alloy blast smelters. These started off at IV, but they're actually now running at LUV. The reason I needed these is obviously I want to make the Gregicality multi-blocks, like the mixer, for example, the multi-block mixer, because one of my biggest crafting bottlenecks is mixers. Some of the mixer recipes in Nomi are quite slow, even at IV. So yeah, the fact that this has 4 parallels will be really good, and it needs obviously a bunch of the equivalent of the GregTech++ alloys from GTNH, and I just, yeah. Luckily, the ABS in this is a lot better than the ABS in GTNH because it scales with coil. It basically works like a blast furnace that produces liquids instead of solids. It gets upgraded with coil tier. It can be overclocked, which the ABS in GTNH can't. Oh no, sorry, the ABS in GTNH can be overclocked now, but it can't tier skip. So you can't like do 2 energy hatches to get an LUV, to be able to do LUV recipes. The clean room has also had probably the most change, to be honest. So I now have an IV circuit assembler. And one thing I should mention, actually, I've upgraded Nomifactory to the latest version as well. So this weekend was really, I was playing Factorio a lot this week, but the latter half of this week and the weekend has been around getting GTNH up to date, getting Nomifactory up to date. I've updated to the latest clean room as well, clean room loader, because I run Nomifactory on clean room with Java 25, and it's all working swimmingly. But one thing Nomi did add was these universal circuits. These work exactly like they do in GTNH. So you use a circuit of that tier to craft essentially a placeholder item. So in this case, we use a microprocessor to craft an LV universal circuit, and then you're meant to use the universal circuit in your crafting patterns. So then when you upgrade a circuit, so for example, our next upgrade will be quantum processors for EV. All I have to do is come into here and re-pattern this universal circuit to use quantum processors, and then all the other recipes will be fine. This is actually something I've been meaning to do in my GTNH world, actually, but I never got around to it. So that is something I will be switching to. GTNH has had universal circuits since forever. It's just, I've been too lazy to use them. So yeah, but I have the IV circuit assembler. This is the multi-block laser engraver, and this is the multi-block cutting machine. And the LCR that I'm using to make things like H-picks, epoxy, plastic sheets, nano wafers, etc., is now running at LUV. Basically, I think I've said this either in this series or in the GTNH series. There's almost no reason to not overclock your LCR because the overclocks are perfect. So as long as your power infrastructure can cope with the actual EU per tick consumption, then you might as well overclock it to the fastest tier you can, because it's 4 times speed for 4 times energy consumption, which means that it is actually a perfect overclock, and the recipe will always use a constant amount of EU regardless of what tier you run it at. It's just the actual EU per tick consumption that goes up. So this is now pretty fast. I've been through and upgraded some of these blast furnaces to IV. As you can see, the tungsten steel one especially, because when you upgrade blast furnaces, you get an extra 100 Kelvin temperature for each energy tier over MV. And tungsten steel is a RTM alloy recipe with a temperature requirement of 4,000. running it at its native, running it at HSSG with EV gives you 5700 temperature. Now that I've upgraded it to IV, that actually bumps it up to 5800, which means it is now 1800 over the recipe requirement, which means it gets perfect overclock. So my tungsten steel recipe has gone from like 33 seconds down to 4 seconds per ingot, which is insane. And I've upgraded the mixer to IV because, and even at IV, I think tungsten steel is still a wee bit slow. I mean, still like 5 seconds or something per 2 dust. The next biggest change is probably over here. So we now have extreme combustion engines with high octane gasoline. So power has been a fairly constant burden because even with all the diamond power that I'm getting from numismatic dynamos, I only get just over an amp of LUV. It's like 40,000 EU per tick. Each one of these is outputting an IV amp at the moment, so this is an amp of LUV right here. But once I get LUV dynamo hatches, which I'm still a bit of a way off, I will be able to put LUV dynamo hatches into these and then supply them with liquid oxygen, and that will actually get me LUV power. It does double the fuel consumption, but it's double the fuel consumption for 4 times the power output, so plenty good. Also, for those of you that may or may not be familiar and maybe following along in your own Nomi playthrough, unlike GTNH, I don't know about GT Modern, which is the 1.20 version of GT because I've not played that, but it is made by the same people as CEU, so it may behave the same way. But unlike GTNH's Greg Tech, multi-block diesel generators do not consume fuel when their power buffers are full. So in GTNH, if your generator fills up and if your generator's power buffer is full, it will still burn fuel. Whereas in this case, you can see that the timer on this is not moving on any of these because the power demand is low enough, although this does need maintenance. You can see the power demand is low enough over there that the numismatic dynamos are able to cover it. But yeah, this is the high octane gasoline setup. So like a lot of my other passive setups, it's just a bunch of, I can't remember the, is it? I can't remember what the P. There we go. Sorry, I realized it might have been a bit dark. So like a lot of my other passive setups, it's just wall shared LCRs, and once you have all the oil setup done, high octane gasoline is not terrible to make because basically everything here comes from oil ingredients with the exception of the ethanol, which comes from this setup over here. So I am taking the stuff from the tree farm to make fermented biomass, which is not working. Oh, because biochaff has ended up in there. I need to filter that. Okay, I'll deal with that. But yeah, so basically we take the saplings from the tree farm, we compress them into plant balls, we then macerate them into biochaff in these macerators, and then they go into here to be turned into fermented biomass, and then we have 8 distillation towers, two quads, which are level emitted by ethanol, which we still have a decent amount of, so that's fine. And basically, that is the only non-oil ingredient, essentially, for making high-octane gasoline. We also do get some other useful stuff from fermented biomass. We get, like, acetic acid, ammonia, etc., but it only gives you a very small amount of them, as you can see. We get methanol as well, but it doesn't give you huge amounts of them. So really, pure biomass is actually better for ethanol production, but it doesn't produce anything else. It just produces ethanol. But I decided to go the fermented route just to get a trickle of these other chemicals. And the way that these work is these only use 256 liters of high-octane gasoline every 5 seconds, which is... This is awesome. I like the fact that it shows you this it shows you it in ticks, which is kind of annoying, but 100 ticks is 5 seconds. So yeah, this is quite good. That it only consumes that much, which means I can run quite a lot of these. I'm planning to run 16, which in the beginning will be an amp of ZPM, and then when I upgrade them, it'll be a amp of UV. But I think by the time I need a consistent amp of UV, I will probably be looking at plasma as my next power source. So that's power. Power is basically sorted for the moment. I just need to build the rest of these, which I have them on auto crafting. It just takes an eternity to build them. But that's been one of my bugbears for quite a while, is that because I'm passiving a lot of stuff, I need a lot of power. I have big power spikes. When the blast furnaces need to refill the AE network or whatever. And that's been the big problem, is I've had a lot of I just have a lot of power spikes, which obviously when the base is busy cause the cap bank to get drained. I do need to look at the power substation, which is what this space here is for. And now that I'm generating a decent amount of power, I'm probably going to look at the power substation next. Right. Before I get off track, so gone through the cutting machines. We have the IV energy hatch now. We also have the cheapest MV circuits. So now that we have the IV assembler, we can actually make... we can do this recipe, which not only does it give us 4 circuits instead of 2, but this is extraordinarily cheap. It's basically some silicon, red alloy wire, anneal copper bolt, and plastic board, and we get 4 MV circuits in 2.5 seconds, which is awesome. The next, I think for the... I don't know if there's like a cheaper tier of the nano circuit. Yes, there is. LUV. So basically, as we get the next tier of circuit assembler, or as we get each tier of circuit assembler, we'll unlock the cheapest tier of circuits, sort of a couple of tiers back. So we have the IV circuit assembler, which means we've now, or it's like 3 tiers back or whatever. So we have the IV circuit assembler, which means we've now unlocked the cheapest recipe for MV circuits. So, and when we get the LUV circuit assembler, we'll get the cheapest tier of HV circuits, or we'll get the cheapest recipe for nano processors. So that's really good. The top platform is unfortunately still here. Oh, actually, take you, shove you in there. There we go. So another thing I've gotten is I've got the Vibrant Jetpack now. So not only is it faster, but the Vibrant Jetpack works basically like Creative Flight. So as you've probably seen for all the other videos in this series, the jetpacks all have like a fall off effect where you'll slowly descend unless you hit the space bar. The Vibrant Jetpack doesn't do that. So once you get the Vibrant Jetpack, you can, which is gated to tungsten steel. Unfortunately, it is unfortunately gated to tungsten steel because these pre-essent crystals need the soul binder, and the soul binder needs tungsten steel and the extended crafting table. So this is gated to EV, I believe. Yeah, this is gated to EV and RTM alloy coil. So I could have gotten it much earlier, but I actually only got it today because I've not really been focusing on getting jetpack, but I was kind of sick of the falling effect. But yeah, so realistically, I am so close to getting rid of this setup. It's just, I've not been bothered, to be brutally honest. But one of the things I really want to get rid of is this charger auto crafting setup, because it's very slow. And now I can make the energy. The only other way to get charged Certus quartz is the energetic infuser from thermal expansion. Oops, sorry. Energetic infuser. Basically, you get this, and the only thing that was blocking me was the mana infused ingots, which I can now get. I can get these now easily enough. I've already got mana infused metal dust because you need it for a couple of other things, and I've got primal mana because you need it for signalum and lumium. So I can quite easily make it now. And it's not even that hard to make or that expensive to make. I'm not even going to passive this. I'm just going to put it in the crafting EBF and call it a day, because this is ridiculously fast to make, and I don't think it's used in a lot of things outside of... so it is needed for empowerment, for empowering powerless crystal blocks, which we will need to do at some point. And it's needed for exotic materials catalysts. And yes, I am going to be passiving a lot of the stuff used in, if we look at the endgame tab, I'm going to be passiving a lot of the stuff used in these endgame catalysts, but some stuff is just sensible to not bother, because by the time I get to making those catalysts, I'll probably be able to one tick. I'll probably be able to one tick the mana infused metal ingots. I don't know if you get sub-tick parallels in GTCEU. I'm not sure. I think that's a GT modern thing. And GregTech New Horizons has implemented it for some multi-blocks like the LCR. Or it might be all multi-blocks now, I don't know. But I know the LCR in 2.8 had it. So yeah, I think, but I'm not sure if you get sub-tick parallels in CEU, because the CEU still has the processing array. So people who might be familiar with the processing array in GTNH, the one in CEU, as I understand it, works basically the same way. So that is probably how you meant to parallel, but obviously you can't parallel blast furnaces with that. But one other way to parallel blast furnaces, though, if using crafting like this, would either obviously be to build a quad and wall share, but there's also P2P tunnels for interfaces as well, just like in GTNH. So yeah, I think that might be it. There is a nice little quality of life thing. Just in case you find any so if you find any Nomi guides on how to do passive crafting with auto crafting with the atomic reconstructor, a lot of them will probably suggest that you use I believe it's a formation plane, to basically have AE place the item in front of the beam, and then you'll use something like a item collector, or a filtered item collector or something like that to collect the items and put them back into the network. Newer versions of Nomifactory, I think starting from 1.7, include Neves or Naves. Sorry, I can't actually read it. I think it's Neves. AE2 editions, and one of the things you get from that is this reconstruction chamber, and basically you just put it adjacent to the reconstructor, and then you just put an ME interface here and put crafting recipes in, and it will, whatever item you need. So in this case, I'm making 8 Restonia crystal blocks from 8 blocks of redstone. I could actually up these to a stack, and I probably will. And it will put the item in, and it will go into here, and then once the atomic reconstructor zaps it, it'll end up in there, and then and this works very similar to a molecular assembler, where it will push to an adjacent inventory if it can. So it will push the result back into the interface. So the reason I point that out is because this is much more TPS friendly, because you're not generating an item in world. You're not having the AE network place an item in the world, wait for that item and get zapped, and then pick it up again. Because placing items in world on constantly, or in quick succession, can be can be quite TPS intensive. So this is a much nicer way of doing it. I'm glad that the devs included this mod by default. In I believe it was 1.7 onwards where they added it in. And basically, I just have because the beam only fires, I think it's like once every 2 seconds or something like that. So I've just stuck a redstone timer here to basically have it fire pretty much constantly. And I've just put a sound muffler here because the sound gets very annoying. So, and it's just suppressing that sound. But yeah, basically, this will, because this doesn't use much power. It doesn't use too much power, especially in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, so this is a really nice way. So yeah, the reconstruction chamber, an ME interface, and the atomic reconstructor is the more TPS friendly way to to automate atomic reconstructor recipes rather than using the older method of the formation plane from AE2. So I thought I would just point that out. What do you make? Oh, you do metal mixture dust or something. Oh, you process. Oh, this processes all the stone dust from the ore proc. Yeah. Yeah. So that's. Oh, I also have auto crafting here for the whatchamacallit, the recipes from extra utilities. I'm not a fan of extra utilities recipes in Nomifactory. I don't. They just don't mesh with me. The only saving grace that makes it less annoying is the fact that even though extra utilities implements its own power grid, which is probably my biggest problem with it, its power grid is global to the player. It's not carried through wires or whatever. So once you get the platinum line, you can actually build this dragon egg mill and put a dragon egg on top of it, and that'll generate 500 GP, which I believe is actually more than enough for pretty much any extra utils 2 recipe. This is still quite slow, even with the maximum number of speed upgrades in it, so I probably will need to parallelize it. But yeah, 500 GP should be more than enough. And failing that, we'll be getting loads of dragon eggs later on, so I can always just build more of these. They're not hard to build. But that is the saving grace that makes me not as annoyed with extra utils, is that, yeah, I can just make the dragon egg mill and not think about extra utils power again for a very long time. But yeah, I think that's probably it. So like I said, the general vibe is that I'm just going to kind of bounce back and forth between different games. Well, it's going to be basically Factorio and Minecraft, but for Minecraft, it'll obviously be different packs. And I have upgraded GTNH. I haven't logged into the world yet to see whether or not everything's broken after upgrading. But I don't think it should be. I don't think 2.9 will have, or at least as far as I'm aware, I've not been keeping up with things. But I'm hoping it won't have too radical changes that'll break my entire base, given the stage of the game I'm at, where I'm only about to enter LUV. I am in LUV now. I'm actually about to do the Netherite line once I'm done with magic stuff. So I will be logging into GTNH. I'll probably actually do that after this video. And the other thing that I am considering is I really want to give a modern pack a go. I'm currently tossing up between Nomifactory and StarTech, but I feel and both appear to be really good packs. But I feel like if I do Nomifactory, I may not. It may be a long time before I come back to Nomifactory because I'll be essentially playing a very similar experience, just with all the modern quality of life. And I think I've made my opinions clear in one of these other videos that I find some 1.12 packs to be quite jank, just simply because 1.12 hasn't had the kind of developer love that 1.20 and 1.710 have had. So there's a lot of quality of life and performance mods that exist in modern Minecraft and in really old Minecraft, but not in the middle child that is 1.12. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the update. And I'm actually feeling pretty good about starting to make some of these videos again. So I'm not sure what my next one is going to be, but like I said, I will be bouncing back and forth, so I'll just be playing basically whatever I feel like at the time. But I think I was afraid of bouncing around too much, and that's probably why one of the contributors to me not making videos for a while. But I think for now, I don't do this professionally, so it doesn't really matter to me. It doesn't really matter to me about maintaining consistency, as it were. So I do have that, because this is a hobby. I do have the luxury of being able to just bounce around between different games and not worry about the algorithm or whatever else. So I do have the luxury of just being able to bounce around between different games, different mob packs, whatever. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, then cool. I don't know how I was going to finish that sentence. Cool. And thank you very much for watching. If you've made it this far, I do appreciate anyone who happens to have stuck around through this very random, turbulent journey of me not making much content. And yeah, hopefully I'll be making some more as time goes on, as we get through the next few weeks. So have a good one, everyone, and thank you very much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.